Joe DeChara here. I am the president and founder of Micro Business Success Centers. You can find us on the web at www.microbusinesspros.com. We're going to be talking about the fundamentals of micro business success, what every micro business owner should know. And before we talk about micro businesses, we should talk a little bit about what a small business is. Because I want to take you on a short journey I went on about 8 months ago, where I tried to put myself in the shoes of a prospective client in a marketing effort. And I said to myself, well, if I'm a small business and I'm looking for accounting and payroll services, where would I go? And the first thought that came to my mind was the Small Business Administration. And what I encountered was information overload. The site was a tremendous site with too much information as far as I was concerned. And you could find out for yourself by going to sba.gov. And what I did was I started, poking around and hitting links. And what I came across was something that was, I hate to say this, but it was almost life-changing, because I came across this definition of a small business as it pertains to the SBA, and they define a small business as having up to 500 employees. Well, if these are small businesses, what do they consider my business clients? That the 1 and 2 man entities, a carpenter with the van. That's an S Corp. What do they consider him? And I came across this term called micro entities and micro enterprises, micro businesses. And I started to search the internet for, what exactly is a micro business? I came across some interesting statistics. There's an organization out there called the Association of Enterprise Opportunities. You could find them at microenterpriseworks.org. And they have a definition of what a micro business is. And in their eyes, it's 5 or less employees with an initial capital outlay of $35,000 or less. And there's some other definitions. The National Association for the Self-Employed classifies a micro business as 10 or less employees. Now, these are the technical terms, but I have my own term for what a micro business is. The definition of a micro business is any organization that lacks a formal structure. I'll tell you why. I just ran into a business with less than 10 employees. They have a CEO, a CFO, a sales manager. They have a structure. I would not consider them a micro business per se. They have over 2,000 clients. I don't know what their revenue is, but they have the type of structure where they really don't need our type of assistance. And I'll get into what that is. But now, the real question is, and I touched on it a little, why is it important to distinguish between a small business and a micro business? And these are some of the areas that make it important. And you could see these are major areas for any business. It's important when it comes to financing the business, the legal structure, marketing, labor issues. I could just go through the Department of Labor regulations, and things that apply to quote-unquote small businesses may not even apply to a micro business. Now, a micro business might be an unincorporated carpenter, and there's no employees, so he's not subject to all the same rules and regulations as a company with 20 employees. Why is that significant? Because when they go into business, they get a ton of mail from the government. And they have no idea what it's for. And 98% of it they bring to me, and I just toss it in the garbage because it doesn't apply to them. And what this comes down to is a lot of inefficiency, a lot of running around, a lot of reading stuff that doesn't apply to them. They will go to the Small Business Administration for guidance, and they'll hand them, a 40-page business plan to fill out. That sort of stuff doesn't apply to micro businesses. So there's a lot of wasted time and energy And these businesses are just not getting the right sort of attention and guidance that they need. And that's where we come in. So now what we've done is we've identified the market and we've identified what the problem is. In my eyes, the problem is a lack of structure, a lack of guidance. And what we do is we do what we call business structuring. And what does this lack of structure mean for you and your business? Well, basically, a micro business is you. You are the business. Without you, the business falters. You have limited growth opportunities. There's a real risk of loss of income in sickness and in death. You have a lack of personal time. Your business runs your life, basically. And what this all means is we've identified a huge market and what we believe is the problem. And we don't like to focus on the problem. We like to focus on the solution. So the solution, quite simply, is if it's a lack of structure of the business, which is the real problem, we provide what we call business structuring. And you might say, well, how do we structure our business? Even if you're a one-man operation, I'm going to explain to you how we structure your business. And this all comes from, this is all the result of principles that we've learned and employed, and principles that have been utilized and employed by other countless business people. And we've combined different aspects, different principles from different authorities, and we've tried and tested our own procedures, and we've come up with our own business structuring model. And I'll give you an example of some of the people that we've taken information from. Napoleon Hill wrote a book called Think and Grow Rich, and a lot of people, that was a very popular book. And before that, he wrote a book called The Law of Success. And in that book, he describes 16 or 15 laws or principles that successful people had. And one of those was to what he called a definite chief aim. And we have our own terminology for this, but we call it, to find your focus. So, the starting point for success, we believe, is to start with your focus. Dr. Stephen Covey wrote a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of his principles was to begin with the end in mind, and we definitely employ that. There's an author by the name of Michael Garber who wrote a very successful book called The E-Myth. And the entrepreneurial myth was that if you have some kind of talent or expertise, that you can go into business. And people spend a lot of time and money to find out that going into business wasn't all they thought it would be. And what he teaches is that every business should be run like a franchise. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to franchise your business, but what franchises do is they all have procedures that are documented, and they can be taught to other people. Okay, and so we get create and document your procedures from Michael Garber, and some of our own principles that we've developed. I'll give you an example: is to identify, prioritize, and organize everything in your business. Your business is a moving object, and it's constantly changing. And you got to constantly identify where there's problems, where there's solutions. Those situations have to be organized and prioritized. That's one of our principles. We believe that you should build a cooperative business because you can't do everything yourself. You have to elicit the talents and expertise of other people. Employees, vendors, people that have a vested interest in your success. But ultimately, the main principle that we like to show our clients is that you need to become the president of your company. And we show people how to do that.